Good day, bro. Today, I'll be presenting a critique of four research articles focused on condominium design, management, and residents' quality of life. Our main article is by Muang Sri Chan and Tochai Wat, which compares the perspectives of residents and building managers in Thailand. Alongside this, we'll explore studies on Bangkok's management challenges, theoretical insights from a principal agent perspective in Hong Kong and Taiwan, and international lessons from Auckland, New Zealand. By the end of this presentation, you'll see how design management, governance, and human relationships all come together to affect the everyday experience of living in a condominium. Condominiums have become more than just housing. They shape how people live, interact, and feel in urban spaces. As cities grow denser, residents' quality of life is influenced not only by design, but also by how buildings are managed. Mongs Richan and Tochai Wat emphasize that management and design are deeply connected. Residents may focus on comfort and aesthetics, while managers may focus on operational efficiency. Understanding both sides is the key to closing perception gaps that affect satisfaction, safety, and daily convenience. Article 1. Design and Management of Residential Condominiums, Perspectives on Quality of Life. This article serves as our baseline. The authors compared the perspectives of residents and building managers in Thai condominiums. Residents prioritize comfort, aesthetics, and functional design. Managers, on the other hand, emphasize operational feasibility and budget constraints. This revealed a perception gap that can affect resident satisfaction. It's an important reminder that quality of life isn't just about beautiful building. It's about how management decisions meet the needs of those living in the space. For the second article, recent situation and problems in condominium management in Bangkok. Karam Rocks and Gondo provide a broader perspective looking at condominium management in Bangkok. They identified issues like low participation from co-owners, management disputes, regulatory gaps, and insufficient maintenance planning. These challenges show how governance and city-level policies can affect residents' daily experiences. While monks Richard and Tochawat focus on perception gaps at the micro level, this study gives us a macro level context. Structural and regulatory problems can create or amplify the perception gaps we see in individual condos. For Article 3, Modes of Condominium Management, a Principal Agent Perspective. Yip, Chang, and Hung analyze condominium management through a principal agent lens. Here, owners are principals and managers are agents. Misaligned incentives between them can lead to operational inefficiencies and conflicts. Managers may prioritize workload reduction or cost savings, while residents want comfort, safety, and timely maintenance. This perspective explains why residents and managers' priorities differ and why achieving consensus is often challenging. It provides a theoretical framework that complements the perception gaps identified in Mongsri Chan and Tochai Watt's study. And lastly, for Article 4, improving the management of common property in multi-owned residential buildings, lesson from Auckland, New Zealand. Levi, Perkins, and Gay offer an international viewpoint from Auckland, New Zealand. They highlight similar issues: aging buildings, unclear maintenance responsibilities, and mixed ownership groups. What's unique is that they propose practical solutions, strong governance frameworks, professional management standards, long-term maintenance planning, and educating owners about their responsibilities. These strategies provide a useful benchmark for Asian contexts, showing that some problems are universal but solvable with the right governance and management practices. Comparing the four studies, we see a clear pattern. Muang Sri Chan and Tochai Wat focus on micro-level perception gaps. Aram, Rocks, and Gondo provide macro-level context, highlighting structural and regulatory challenges. Yip, Chang, and Hung offer theoretical explanations for conflicts through the principal-agent perspective. And Levi, Perkins, and Gay bring international lessons with practical solutions. Together, these studies show that improving condominium living requires attention to both design and governance, as well as collaboration between residents and managers. So our key takeaways for 4 articles. 1. Residents' quality of life depends on design, management, and governance working together. 2. Conflicts often arise due to misaligned incentives or regulatory gaps. 3. A holistic approach including strong governance, professional management, and active resident participation is essential. And lastly, international examples provide guidance for local application, demonstrating that these challenges are common globally but can be mitigated effectively. Implication for practice. In the Philippines, where urban growth is rapid, these insights are highly relevant. Condominiums are shared communities, not just buildings. Encouraging owner participation, strengthening management standards, and adopting international best practices can improve residents' everyday experiences. Essentially, a successful condominium requires an integrated approach that balances architecture, operations, governance, and human relationships. For future directions, 1. Need stronger integration between design features and management practices to improve residents' well-being. Second, explore effects of smart technologies, sustainable design, and participatory management on quality of life. Third, conduct cross-cultural comparative studies to understand how culture and governance shape expectations. Fourth, examine governance structures, policies, and social norms influencing condominium satisfaction and maintenance efficiency. Lastly, strengthen continuous resident involvement through feedback systems and councils to align management with real needs. Moving forward, research on residential condominiums should focus on closing the gap between good design and effective management. While previous studies highlight both, integrating them can have much stronger impact on residents' quality of life. Emerging areas like smart technologies, sustainable building features, and participatory management models also offer promising avenues to study their long-term effects on comfort, safety, and satisfaction. Cross-cultural comparisons, drawing insights from cities like Bangkok and Auckland, can help us understand how different governance systems and cultural expectations shape condominium experiences. Finally, research should explore how continuous resident involvement, like feedback tools and resident councils, can ensure that condominium communities remain functional, inclusive, and enjoyable over time. And for the conclusion, to wrap this up, these studies remind us that condominiums are living communities. Muang Sri Chan and Tochai White highlight the importance of residents and managers' perspectives. Aram Kars and Gondo emphasize structural challenges. Yip, Chang, and Hung explain why conflicts occur, and Levi, Perkins, and Gay provide actionable solutions. Improving quality of life in condominiums is about more than design. It's about aligning management, governance, and human relationships. When these pieces come together, condominiums become thriving, livable communities rather than just places to sleep. That's all. Thank you.